Business Psychology mission is to build a robust community for all things business psychology in India. So, one common platform to learn about business psychology, right from what do we see from a student perspective to what professionals are doing in the corporates. Shalini, if you can kindly present next slide, please. Yeah. Here are a few of the things about IIBP that they have launched and they are offering. IIBP offers certifications in psychometric testing level 1 and 2, as well as verifications in assessment and development centers. They accredit on psychometric test reviews and accredited services providers. Indian Institute of Business Psychology also offer a variety of memberships, right from student membership to associate membership to full professional membership. And if you don't know about anything, which membership to join, then you can always be our well-wisher and join our well-wisher membership, where you'll get a few updates about what are the latest events that IIBP is going to host. As you can see, here are a few of the ongoing initiatives that if you are any one of you are interested in and want to learn more about, you definitely can reach out to us. IIBP has recently launched a mental health initiative where more than 28 trained mental health professionals are there to serve you. IIBP, just after today's, as we have promised you that we have a surprise for you. So after today's discussion in careers in business psychology, we will be sharing with you informative guide on business psychology for students pan India. So please stay tuned with us till the end, because in the end we will be definitely sharing with you and we'll be just discussing in brief if time allows us. And we are soon going to launch ebooks on various different topics, which is going to be very short and sweet read for anyone who really wants to dive into the topics of psychometric testing, mindfulness, or anything related to business psychology. So here are the ongoing initiatives. And if you're interested in learning more about, then you can definitely reach out to us. And let's move forward and talk about today's webinar, which is on careers in business psychology. And we are glad to have Mr. Vijay Pandey here. Well, I was thinking about how to introduce Vijay sir, and this is what I came up with. In very simplest of way, sir explains the most complex of concepts in the most easy way. So whenever he explains, you get the gist, you get the concept in the most easy way as possible, no matter how difficult the concept is. So this is how I relate to sir. Whenever I got the opportunity to learn from sir, Mr. Vijay Pandey. Also is an entrepreneur, a mentor. I would say he knows in and out most of the things about psychometric testing. Uh, and today we are really glad to have you, sir, here. I mean, it's a really pleasure. It's a pleasure that you're going to speak about the careers in business psychology, which is a topic which most of the students really want to learn more about. And since there are a lot of misguided information about the subject, about how to go about in choosing a subfield in regards to business psychology and how to professionally establish yourself in business psychology is something that many aspirants are looking forward to. I hope everyone who has joined us, currently 100 participants have joined us and there is one in the waiting room. So glad to all the 100 participants. I know there are a lot of questions that you have in your mind. I would request everyone to please allow sir to speak in the beginning, and then we'll take questions at the end. Uh, and and sir, yeah, okay, sir, you can take the charge from here onwards.
Thank you. Thank you, Vipul, for such a nice introduction, and thanks for giving a brief introduction of IIBP as a host of this platform. Thank you very much. I see a lot of familiar name and faces, so I feel very comfortable talking to. Otherwise, whenever the audience size goes more than 30, my mind starts kind of getting blocked because I'm not a group person. I enjoy working in small groups in one-to-one situation. So it's good. Thank you. Your introduction makes me comfortable. Just let me just block my phone so that I don't receive any call or anything. I'm so sorry for this. This is crazy. Sometimes it happens like I forgot today to turn it off. Okay, so here it is. Now it's off. Okay. Yeah. So I have made a small PowerPoint presentation, and which is not on basically PowerPoint, but it's on Menti. And for all of us who are here, please, if you have a second device, use it, because use it to go to menti.com. And then the way I have designed this session, that it will be very interactive. So we have already got into 10 minutes into it. Next 20 to 25 minutes, I will speak. And then 20 minutes, we should have an open forum discussion kind of thing. Because many things, especially when it comes to experience sharing, that can be done better in a form of, let's say, open forum discussion rather than having a one-way dialogue. So I'm going to share with you my screen. And we will take it on from there. Okay, so present anyway. Okay, so do you see my screen? Can anyone confirm?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so careers in business psychology. So in this presentation, it will go for almost 35 minutes. We will discuss what it is and how to get into it, how to grow. So please go to menti.com, and you have to use this code 61821134. So 61821134. That's the code that you have to use for taking part into the activities, quizzes, questions, etc. So the first thing first, outline of the discussion, very simple outline, 3 things. What is business psychology? How to be a business psychologist, how to get into that field, and then how to grow as a business psychologist. So I will be sharing mostly about from my experience and experience of people I work with who I have seen growing really, really fast into the field. So before we get into that, please go to menti.com, and you will find a question there. Answer that question, please. Do you see the question?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I don't know from where all these nice figures are coming.
Sir, I think you have to press enter to start to begin, I guess.
Okay.
So is it start? Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So this is the screen I was waiting for. So you need to go to menti.com, and then the moment you enter into menti.com, it will ask you for a code. Then you enter this code 61821134. Voila. So here is the result. That's the best advantage of it. You can see, and it is showing this X, means that there is no right answer in that. So that's why it is showing this X thing. Now, so in this session, we have 21 undergraduate students, 20 postgraduate students, then 9 people who are entering into the workforce, 14 people who are working full-time, and 4 who are working part-time. So this is roughly the audience group that we have. I'll keep that in mind while talking. So based on that, I will allocate the time. So now, first thing first, what is business psychology? In one line, in the most simplest form, it is applying psychology to business. So it's a field where knowledge from psychology is used to make businesses better, to solve business problems, address business issues. And this is a field actually branched out from IO psychology, which is industrial organizational psychology. Yeah, Francis, you asked.
Sorry to bother you. My friend wants to join, but she's saying the meeting has
Yeah,
reached its
actually, we
capacity,
have
and
we have a
is it a
limit of
restrictions? And
100 only. So
oh,
please ask the person to go to the YouTube channel,
ah,
and she or he can participate from there, ask questions, and then I will answer the questions. My
okay.
team will send me the questions
Thank you, thank you.
on our YouTube channel. Go to YouTube and IIBP,
The
search for
YouTube link is already in the
IIBP.
chat.
You will
The
find the
YouTube link
channel
is in the
there.
chat. You can click
Understand?
on that link.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
got to go to YouTube and chat.
yeah, exactly.
Thank
Exactly.
you.
Yes. So the same video live, it is there on YouTube. Okay. So coming to business psychology, it's branched out from IO psychology, which is industrial organizational psychology, which itself is a branch of social psychology. So within social psychology, you study social structure. Then organizations are a typical form of social structure. So within IO, industrial organizational psychology, you study that. And then businesses are generally a larger area than IO. So for example, there are many businesses which are not industry or which are not organizations, like all the enterprise businesses, entrepreneurs, independent people. They are businesses, but they are not kind of industries, or they are not big or large, even small size organization. They are 1 or 2 or 3 people team. So in fact, one of you asked what is the, if I would explain the difference between IO and business psychology, it could be useful. So the difference between IO and business psychology is that IO is an old bottle, old wine. Business psychology is the same old wine put in a new bottle, plus added some flavors. So IO is like plain vodka, and business psychology is vodka with different kind of vodka matured in different fruits. So there are many different paths and very diverse path in business psychology. And here I have just noted some path. One is HR. So by studying business psychology, you can get into HR field, human resources, where you are basically responsible for 3 functions: getting the people, most talented, qualified people, then keeping those people, and third, developing those people. Another area of business psychology is marketing. Uh, you might be aware of it, or you might not be knowing that there is a lot many psychologists, business psychologists, who do not have the title of business psychologist. They have the title of senior marketing manager, or advertising professional, or a marketing consultant. A lot of business psychology happens in the field of marketing. Similarly, advertising, how to craft an ad which appeals to emotions. In fact, I have been working on a couple projects related to that, where I'm working with advertisers and helping them to understand the emotional undercurrent of messages and how to tap into that. So uh, because it's an introductory session, so I cannot go deeper into that. Otherwise, it's an amazing area to kind of be in. Then there are market surveys, in which business psychologists work on designing the surveys, interpreting the survey results, analyzing the surveys, etc. Then business psychologists also are found in OD, LND, coaching, and therapy. So it is an interdisciplinary science. It's not, let's say, one kind of monolith field like psychology or sociology or statistics or programming, but it's basically an intersection of all that. So a typical business psychologist uses knowledge from sociology, psychology, statistics, programming, business, like how to run a business, how to set up a business, the finance part of it, the accounting part of it, and economics to understand the broader macro and micro economic structures. Lastly, it is an emerging field. And because it is an emerging field, there is a lot of confusion, there is a lot of chaos, there is a lot of uncertainty. As I said, that many business psychologists do not have the title of business psychologist. They work as marketing executive or senior marketing manager or AVP marketing and advertising and in HR and in OD, different fields. Though there has been some people who are very active on social media, and they are kind of, uh, advocating very strongly for the position of chief business psychology officer or chief business psychologist in organizations, on in tune of CEO, CFO, like that. They want a CBO in the organization. But still, it is a field which is an emerging field. And second important thing to know about it, that this is an unregulated field, means there is no law to govern the titles and the professional work or professional code in this field. So anybody can call themselves a business psychologist. It's not a protected title. For example, clinical psychologist is a protected title in India and in many other countries. You cannot call yourself a clinical psychologist unless and until you are registered with a professional body, which is basically authorized by government to give the title. The title of psychologist in India is not protected, but in France, where I am currently, this title is protected. So you cannot call yourself as a psychologist without having gone through 5 years of psychology training and 1 year of internship. 1 year of supervised internship you need in addition to your 5 years of psychology training to call yourself a psychologist. Then there is another protected title here, work psychologist. Work psychologist is also protected title. It is called psychologue du travail in French. But business psychologist, nowhere in the world it is a protected title. Then there is a lot of lateral entries into the field. Most business psychologists do not have a BA or BSc or MA or MSc or PhD in business psychology. In fact, very few universities in India or abroad. I'm familiar with the education system of India, Europe, and USA. In USA, since long, many universities are offering BA or BSc in business psychology, MA, MSc in business psychology, and PhD in business psychology. But in India, it's very recent phenomenon. Very recently, some universities have started offering degree into that. In fact, Indian Institute of Business Psychology was established in 2000. It was 2017. Yeah. So 2011 was the first meeting when people started thinking that, okay, we should have something like business psychology in India. And in 2017, it was established. So before that, there was not even let's say a proper term, business psychology in India. So it's a very nascent field. Now, the second thing is that what all business psychologists do. And here I will be talking about the activity, the profession, the business, the title. So in terms of work of a business psychologist, it ranges from research to practice and consulting in between. So on one hand, you have pure academic researchers in business psychology. And what those researchers do? They study psychological phenomenon which is related to business outcomes. For example, impact of COVID on team relations. So when COVID hit, healthcare people started preparing the hospital, preparing the places to deal with that. All the journalists and other people started kind of taking that, modifying their news to promote the message that, okay, maintain the social distancing. In fact, I had a big problem at that time to call it social distancing. I was more into the favor of calling it physical distancing, because it is not that we have to distance socially. We have to actually connect socially if there is uncertainty. Whenever there is uncertainty in the environment, the antidote of the fear and stress that is coming from that uncertainty is people connection. So actually we need to connect more when there is fear and uncertainty. So, but that connection need not to be physical. Like, I don't need to touch your face, or I didn't need to kind of be very close to you in order to feel emotionally and socially connected to you. In fact, almost half of my connects on LinkedIn, I have never met them. So, and like few of them I have met only on in let's say Zoom or any kind of virtual medium. But the connect is important, sharing is important. So I was very much against of calling it social distancing, but calling it physical distancing. But then many of my colleagues also, they pointed out that, okay, if you call it physical, it could quickly go into the area of sexual. So maybe that's why journalists started calling it a social distancing. So anyway, so the point here is that different people working in different profession will take the action as per their line of work. So researchers who were in business psychology, they immediately started kind of understanding, okay, because of COVID, now we have new environment, new change situation, and how interpersonal relation, team relations will play into that. In fact, I, as a business psychologist, was also involved in that impact of COVID on team relations. I have done a lot of research into it. Now, that research could be of practical use. So if I'm a consultant, I would use that research immediately. But if I'm a pure researcher, I don't care whether it is of practical use today or not. What I care is finding the truth, finding the pattern. So that kick of finding something hidden or adding to the body of knowledge is the kick for the researcher. So one kind of people who go into business psychology, what they do is research. An example of research here is impact of COVID on team relation, mental health in uncertain time. What are the causes and effect of mental health when time becomes uncertain? So there are different dynamics of health, mental health, when there is certainty in the environment. And there are very different dynamics of mental health when there is uncertainty in the environment. So studying that's what business psychology researcher does. Then romantic relationship at work. Many companies have policies about it, that you cannot or can have romantic relationship at work. There are some companies who say that you can have a romantic relationship with your colleague or with another employee in the same organization, but you have to declare it. There are some organizations say that the moment you have a romantic relationship, you have to leave the organization. There are some other companies who say that you just cannot have. And there are some organizations who have no policy about it. They are silent. Then the second area is practice. In practice, I've just here put some examples like developing test, conducting employee surveys, conducting coaching sessions, conducting therapy sessions. These are the examples of practice into business psychology. And the third area, which is a mix of practice and research, is consulting. For example, and this is again work which I have done personally, is helping a company to get high click-through ratio by modifying the content of the ad to match personality. So click-through ratio is basically how many people clicked after viewing that ad. So let's say if 100 people see the ad and 8 people click, then your CTR is 8%. So how can we move that from 8% to 12%? By the way, standard CTR is 3%. So 3% is good. If someone is getting like 12%, 18% CTR, that is like very, very good. And the more CTR you get, the better value you get. So in Google ad, if you have, let's say, your ad on impression, then you will pay the same money if you get 20 click or you get 200 click. So then it makes a lot of sense to have more, a better content matching to different kind of personality. Then creating best fit profile is another example of consulting. Then you can have a mix of any of these: research, consulting, and practice in business psychology. So there is a whole plethora of things in business psychology with one bottom line. And the bottom line is, whenever you are using the idea or concept from business psychology, from psychology to address business issues, you are doing business psychology. No matter what your title is, no matter what your job function is. And as it is a nascent field, I think it will take like maybe 10 years for it to be formalized and have a kind of identity of its own separate from others. Like there was a time when psychology was not a subject. It was taught in philosophy department. Then now there is no subject as psychology. Like you have clinical psychology, you have industrial organizational psychology. Nobody does psychology. Psychology is taught only as introduction to psychology in the undergraduate level, first class. That's all. After that, it is specific. So in the same way, there will be a time like in 10 years when there will be like a, a graduate program in business psychology. In fact, there are many universities which are already offering graduate program in business psychology. So there will be graduate, postgraduate, and PhD programs in business psychology. So I hope it gave you some idea of what they do. Now, how to get into the field. Now, there are multiple routes to get into this field. One is the traditional route that you have a graduate degree in any field, whether it is science, arts, commerce, any field. You have a postgraduate degree, which is related to some field of sociology, economics, marketing, etc. And then you have a PhD. So there are some routes which go from graduate. After being graduate, you can get into the field like survey, marketing survey, research, HR. You can get into that just after being graduate. Then there are some fields which require postgraduate degree. For example, being let's say, being even an HR professional in a reputed organization, it requires master degree. Being a researcher definitely requires a minimum master degree. A PhD is desirable. Being a consultant requires minimum master degree. In fact, nowadays for most jobs, entry-level jobs, which are called, let's say, white-collar jobs in business psychology, they require a postgraduate degree, which is, and here when I say postgraduate, it's typically in Indian sense, because in US, graduate is called like their graduate is equal to masters. In Europe follows the same pattern as India. 3-year is called graduate, plus 2-year is called master. So you have bachelor and master. And the term graduate is used for both. In fact, literally what graduate means is that you moved on from something. So you graduated. So when people pass high school, they graduate from high school, like that. So here, by graduate, I mean bachelor, by postgraduate, I mean master, and then PhD. So this is the traditional route. Then there is a lateral entry route that you are working in HR, and then you realize that you have actually more interest in understanding the psychology or psychological aspects of phenomenon. So for example, you are recruiting people, but you have more interest in understanding what makes people fit into a particular role, rather than scheduling the interview, finding the people, talking to the people, and convincing them and following up with them. So then from recruitment, you can slide into business psychology field, in which you would be working mostly on evaluation part. So you will not be searching for candidates. You will not be lining them up for interview, but most of the time you will be evaluating their psychological profile with the requirement of the job and writing comments saying that this job requires being high agreeable, high consensus, and this person is high agreeable, high consensus, so there is a match. this job requires being high open, but this person is moderately open, and because of that, there will be these challenges possible. So you shift into that field. Similarly from marketing, rather than, let's say, finding out best go-to marketing strategy, you look at what is the profile of your audience, your targeted audience, and what is going to appeal them, what kind of masses is going to appeal them. What is the kind of personality traits which are valued in the culture or in the society or in your target group? And based on that, how you should market. So for example, if you are marketing into the what we call as the Bible Belt in USA, which is basically the middle part, not the eastern coast, not the western coast, but the middle part, then there people are more conservative. So conservative people, if you want to market them, you market on the basis, on the primary emotion should be fear. That stick to your roots, stick to your practices, otherwise something bad will happen. So if your product, your marketing of your product can focus on what bad could happen if you don't use my product, that is the better marketing strategy for Bible Belt. For Eastern Coast and Western Coast, there are people more, those are the people more liberal. There you should focus more on the hope, focus more on the possibility that this can be done, that can be done. So instead of finding, let's say, the go-to market strategy, you start looking at the psychological aspect of your audience, targeted audience, and then you start looking at crafting the message. Thereby you are applying psychology into business, and you shift from being a marketer to being a business psychologist. Same for advertising and operations. There are, once you start focusing more on the psychological aspect, you are doing business psychology. The third route to get into it as a second career. So there are many people who are more like they are not happy with one career. Their personality is such that they don't feel comfortable having doing one thing for 30 year, 40 year of their life. There are other kind of people who enjoy doing that. For example, just imagine a person who has worked. In fact, I was reading recently, there is a lady who worked for 15 years on mRNA, and her work is actually very useful now for treating corona. But then she never knew that even if her work will ever be used for anything. But she spent 15 years into that. mRNA is one paragraph in the chapter of our high school book on biology. That's all. And then even at PhD level, there are hardly few theses written on that. And in that narrow field, she spent 15 years. So there are people who go that deep. Then there are people who do not enjoy going deep. They don't like it. They don't find any satisfaction into that. They enjoy going wide. So second career comes from two different fields. Like people who want to go wide, they have a 9-to-5 job, or they have a proper job, and then they have a side gig. And then some people, they say that, okay, for 5 years I'll work in HR, and then I will go and work in operations. Then I want to work in marketing because I want to be CEO in 30 years. So that because I want to be CEO, I want to work in all fields so that I have the total knowledge of the business. So some people, as part of their journey, they focus on this aspect and they become business psychologists for quite some time. Then there are full-time, part-time, freelance, all kind of work available in that. Most important thing is that two patterns here, which I would like to highlight, which I have observed here. Number one, most jobs are not advertised. So you will not see a position advertised for business psychologist. Mostly it is through network and through word of mouth that those jobs are advertised or those jobs are populated. Secondly, most work in this area is freelance work, because most companies have not structured their policies, their processes, their organization in such a way that they can focus more on the psychological aspect of organization. So what happens is that they look for expertise, they look for freelancing into that area. And in fact, if I look at my career, I had to, in the beginning, I had to wait for 3 years to get a proper opening into field where I can apply psychology really to business. So I got into psychometric testing field. But then before that, while waiting for that, I was working in the field of recruitment and consulting. And then I worked for like 7-8 years as a full-time employee, starting from an assistant manager in R&D to being director of R&D. And then I left it as full-time and started consulting, because consulting is where I feel that this is my home, this is my space. Because in consulting, what I do is that I'm working on one project seriously, deeply for like 6 to 9 months. Then I go and work on another project. Then I go and work on another project. Sometimes I have 3 projects running. And this is the kind of lifestyle that I admire for myself. I would have never spent that much time with my kids, with my family, with my friends if I was working full time. So different people have different kind of orientation. So if you have an orientation towards, let's say, more flexible kind of working, then business psychology is a very good field for that. It's most people who work in the field of business psychology, they are either part-time or freelancer. There are few full-time openings, but very few. And full-time openings are generally in large organization. In fact, there is a very good blog called psychologyatwork.blog. We will share that URL later on also. There you can go and find openings in business psychology field coming up. So this is about how to get into the field. Now, what can you do to make your entry into the field smart? And here, again, I use the SMART as acronym for specific, measurable, and achievable, realistic, and time-bound. So first step for that is to know yourself. Because any area, no matter which area you go into business psychology, you will be working on some psychological aspect. And as we know, psychological realities are always co-created. So let's say, for example, on the extroversion and introversion scale, I'm somewhere in the middle and a little tilted towards extroversion. So when I speak to people who are more extrovert than me, they regard me as introverted person. So all the extroverts, they think that I'm introvert. All the introverts, they think that I'm extrovert. And my behavior also, if I'm surrounded by extroverted people, I typically behave in introverted manner. But if I'm surrounded by introverted people, I typically behave in extroverted manner. So my behavior, my relationship is curated with the fact that where is my position on that continuum. And like extroversion, introversion, there are many other dimensions of personality. At least there are 5 main broader dimensions of personality. And you should know where you are, or what is your home, or what is your location on those, so that you can relate to other people better. So the first step of entry into working in business psychology is work on yourself, know yourself. If you have not taken ever an assessment in Big 5, go to Google, type Big 5 assessment, open source, or type open psychometric. And there is a very beautiful questionnaire and result. Like, don't go for those, BuzzFeed type questions like what kind of vegetable are you, or what kind of mushroom are you? That's useless. That's not psychology. That's kind of pop psychology. Go for, there are many websites created by serious professionals, and they have made it open source available for free, because they are the people who are paid nicely by their employers, by their government, which is basically government funded institutions. So they have made this, like there is this Oregon Institute which has made this ori.org. You go there, IPIP, International Personality Item Pool, a lot of information available. Then there is Open Psychometric Project, which is an interdisciplinary project supported by multiple professionals. So first, know yourself. Second, find a mentor. All the work related to psychology is work, interpersonal work, or relational work. And in relational work, you need to understand your location, your position, your, I always use the word location in a topology of relationship. And your mentor is the person who keeps you, or who helps you keeping on track. Number three, do a lot of self-study and projects. So let's say if you want to make a career, but you don't have anything in that, like you have no knowledge, you have no expertise, nobody knows you in that, utilize your time to study the core. For example, if you want to, let's say, begin the business psychology, let's say begin the advertising, read the work of Sigmund Freud, read the work of how Freud's nephew created a huge advertising movement in USA following the psychoanalytic system that Freud gave. And then read the work of Kurt Lewin, who came and who said that it's all bullshit. And the way you are doing it actually, it's ineffective, and ineffective to the least, and manipulative to the best of it. So he said that no, you should be purely rational, data based. And he gave a mathematical way of approaching business problems. So read the work of Kurt Lewin and read the originals. Do not read the commentary on commentary on commentary. No. Try to read the originals. Try to read, if you want to understand psychoanalysis, read what Freud wrote. Do not read a commentary on Freud's work, or a commentary on Freud's work, or an interpretation of Freud's work. Interpretations are good only if you have read the original. If you have read the original, then you can see that from original, how things change, how things evolve. And that will tap you into the mentality of the, let's say, a business psychologist. This is how, like, in order to be a business psychologist, you have to develop that thinking. And in our best way to develop that thinking is to read the original. Many people I meet especially in academic setting, and they challenge about Freudian idea. I tell them that, like, you are not being fair to Freud. Just imagine, being a doctor in 1800 with zero access to all the modern tools that we have today available for doctors. And then you have patients coming in, they have no biological basis of their symptoms. Like, what the hell you will do? Either you say that, okay, I don't know how to treat you, go home, or you will, if you are a real doctor, you will try to find some way where it can be treated. And Freud managed to find and discover and reveal things about psychology which we consider as normal today. So we call, like, unconscious, subconscious, we use it all the time. Freud is the person who actually made a map of the unconscious. These times we always talk about projection, regression, this and that. These are all the terms given by Freud. So all the good things about the Freud, we forget about it. We consider, oh, it's normal, everybody knows that, it's common sense. All the bad things about Freud, like his excessive obsession towards libido, which was in Viennese time, it is understandable. In today's time, it is totally rubbish. But then we need to read it original to understand it, like what is relevant, what is not relevant. So do a lot of self-study. And then Just doing study is not enough. You should make a profile. You should make something where people can see what you have done. So whenever you study something, make an outcome of that study. Like simplest outcome could be that just make a summary and share it. So that way people will know in the field that you are working on something, and you will be visible, and that visibility will get you your first job or your first assignment or your first thing into that. Like you can be super intelligent, super knowledgeable, but if nobody knows, then it will be good for you still, but you will not get a project because of that.
Hi,
If you
sir.
are a
People,
student, try and find an internship. And internship is an area which is very close to my heart, and I talked multiple times about internship. For me, I strongly believe that all internship must be paid. As an employer, I made a policy in my company that no internship should be there without, number one, a proper project. Number two, mentorship time with a person who is working full time, and money. Interns deserve these three things. They deserve a proper project, they deserve mentorship time, and they deserve money. Now, there is another side of this story in which employers say that, well, we are spending so much, and then interns just leave and don't do nothing. It is part of your social responsibility. You must do it. It's as simple as that. If you are a student, internship is the best thing that you can do with your career or with your life to launch yourself in a smart manner in the field of business psychology. And for internship, again, go see who is offering internship, then inquire about that. Ask the person, like, who are the other people who have done internship from your place, and talk to those people and ask them, how was your experience, how it was, would you recommend me going there, and do internship. Third, through your self-study, you do this, show your work either on GitHub or in Google Drive or in website. In fact, recently, just last week, I hired an intern, and I hired him simply because he wrote me a message long ago and he sent his GitHub profile link. There was not much on that GitHub link, just 2 pages. But then the thing that made me most interested in his profile is that rather than telling me that, okay, give me a job and then I will work, he is telling me that, look, I have learned already, and I have done this thing and that thing, and I'm interested in this field. So I did not have a kind of position. For him, I created a position. I talked to one of my clients. I said that, hey, look, this is the project I'm thinking of. If I launch like something like that, would you finance it? He said, yeah, I will finance. I said, okay. So I have a person who is financing that. I have a person who wants to do that. I connected both. So if you are active, if you are visible, if you are showing your work through GitHub, through Google Drive, if you don't know GitHub, if you feel it complicated, just create a Google Drive. Whatever you create, notes, summaries, this and that, share. And then make use of social media rather than scrolling through the timeline and looking who else is doing what. Make it smart, make it more targeted. Connect with the right kind of people. Follow what they are saying, engage in that discussion, learn from it, and most importantly, process your learning, whatever you have learned, and show it somewhere. So if you follow these steps, I'm sure that entry would be quite easy. And then here is the steps to grow. In this, since we have very less time, I have 7 minutes left out of 1 hour total. I hope that it was useful. Just give me some indication if it was useful, the discussion so far, because I think that I took a lot of time. Thank you, Francis. Thank you. Thank you.
It's very useful, yeah.
Thank you. So then I'll explain, elaborate little on this. for growing into the field, in the beginning, if you are a beginner in the field, you should focus on developing competencies in many different areas and then think of a specialization later. So when you get to work, you don't think whether it is of my area or not, or whether it is in my direction or not. Just do it. Just do it. And once you have done 20 projects, 30 projects like that, then you look back at it and see what are the things that I actually enjoyed doing most. That is your area of specialization. So in the beginning, don't be choosy. In the beginning, try to do whatever comes your way. So if you have to learn HTML, learn it. If you have to learn programming for that, learn it. These days, we are living in a time where all learning is available on fingertips, and you don't need to do much. Like, you don't need to be a, serious programmer in order to do R. You just need to understand the basic of the programming, the loops, the conditions, the flow, the classes, the attributes. That's all. And then pay attention to the basic aspects of everything, like how internet works, how HTML works, how CSS works, what is the basic fundamental of R. And then most importantly, learn how to read and learn how to write. There is a very beautiful course on Coursera on learning to learn. I would highly, highly recommend that course for everybody. Go through that course, you will get very good strategies on how to learn. And then know how to write, how to express yourself, how to expand an idea, how to concise an idea. Those are the very fundamental skills which I find missing in most people I hire. And I see that for me, it has been extremely valuable. Like, my first job was like, this is crazy. My first job was less than $100 a month. And my first proper job was $700. From $700, I started earning $7,000 in 3 years. And not because of any, kind of that my uncle was owning the company or something like that, but only because I never kind of thought that, okay, this is not my job or this is not my work. Whatever came on my way, I learned. And then I made a very clear-cut specialization into that. So if you learn and gain competence, and if you demonstrate that, if your employer doesn't notice, somebody else will notice. But somebody will notice if you have demonstrated it. If you have never demonstrated your talent, if you have never demonstrated your competence, then there is very low chance that somebody will spend so much time to peep into your brain and look for the competency and notice it. Okay. Thirdly, once you have done the projects, study and all that, then try for your growth. Try to develop one core competence and some auxiliary related to that. So if you look at LinkedIn profile, most people who are really good in their field, they look at their profile, they have written only one thing that they are good at. Like, I remember there is a person who has written his name and then the survey guy. So his competence or his area is in survey. Don't try to be everything. So make one core area. My core area is measurement. That's my core area. Then you develop certain auxiliary thing around that area. So measurement related consulting, measurement related coaching, measurement related research, measurement related analysis. So like that. So develop one core area and some auxiliary area. That way you will grow faster than other people. Then some kind of mundane stuff, which is when you do the work, you always should have some kind of differentiation between the work which is adding value versus the work which is doing maintenance. So if you end up finding yourself doing something repeatedly from time to time in a mechanical way, that is the perfect candidate for automation. Automate it. Find some way to do it so that you don't have to do it all the time. And value add work are those which are done once, but they give benefit multiple times. For example, creating, let's say, a simple automation of report generation in Excel and Word. That's what I did in way back in 2006. I used to get answers from the people in Excel sheet. And then I wrote small Excel macros that they can take the block of text from Excel file and put it into Word file and generate a report. So I had to work once on that for a long time, but then that system helped me and my company for like years, several years before we put everything into program and we developed a program in PHP. So try to always balance your time between the value added work, the work which you are doing once and it is giving benefit all the time. For example, if you learn how to write better email, that's a value added work. If you learn how to enhance, or if you enhance your vocabulary in a particular language, you know more words, that's a value added work. It will help you tremendously in many areas. If you watch let's say a documentary which gives you some ideas about something, some area, particular area, that is a value added work. Okay. If you are, let's say, writing an article, that is a value added work because you write article once and then for entire life it will be read by people. If you write good, then it will be read by a lot of people. If you write average, even then it will be read by thousands of people. So like find things like that. And then there are some maintenance work which you do repeatedly, like you do copy paste. So if you find yourself doing a lot of maintenance work, take a step back and think how I can automate this work and how I can convert it into something which I do once and it happens all the time. Then this is the work side. Personal side, always have a peer group which is critical of you. Be very careful of not having yes sir or you are very good type people around you. So don't have, as we say in India, like buttering type people. Have at least 1 or 2 person in your group which is very, very different from you and who is confronting with you. For me, that person is my wife. Like, she never agrees with anything I say. And she is my best litmus test. So if I know that I'm getting very attracted towards an idea or some business plan or something, I show it to her. If she says that makes sense, it means that it's amazing thing. Otherwise, she will highlight at least 20 flaws in that idea or in that plan, and that gives me a very good insight to work on. So always have some critical person in your friend circle, in your family, in your work group, who is against you, who has some vested interest in kind of, proving you wrong. For me, I found my wife because she has some vested interest in proving me wrong. And so you might have one friend like that who has some interest in proving you wrong. So have that person at least in your network. Then join associations, professional bodies, meetup groups, meet people. The more people you meet, the more discussions you do, the more places you are, the more visibility you will get, and the more growth you will get. But always remember, this is the step after your knowledge and competence. Don't do it the other way around. Otherwise, if you develop your social network, your meeting, and your professional body membership first before having any like kind of knowledge, competence, and all that, you will be like a fluffy marketer who is not valued. So we have seen those kind of people on LinkedIn all the time. They also have followers, a lot of followers, but then they are not valued. They tell a lie. Most of the time they are just spreading lies there. So create your value first, create your competence first, but just the competence is not enough. It is basic, it is fundamental, it is required, it should be done first, but then also keep on having a professional network, having a personal network of people. Then last thing is that invest a lot in your self-development. This is the best investment you can do. And here I will give two examples. I have seen that many students, and especially in France, where I'm currently, uh, I was contacted by Indian Embassy to say that if I can help in Corona times for people who are in COVID affected. I said, well, I will be happy to do that. Here is my number, give them. And here is the time I'm available, they can call me. So I received a lot of call. And most of the time it was call from students who were totally dissatisfied after coming into France. They were thinking that they will go study in a French institute, get a degree, and they will get a job. Here they find that nobody values them. Nobody values their knowledge, nobody values that degree, nobody values that institute. And it's like, even if it is like the good institutes, and they find it very difficult to cope up with the French language and French culture, because France is not a welcoming country. They don't say, okay, yeah, most welcome, come, customer is God or Atithi Devo Bhav. They don't have that culture. France is an unwelcoming country. They will say that first you prove that you like this country, you adhere to French values, you subscribe to liberté, égalité, fraternité, and then maybe we will extend you support. So it's like that. And their biggest problem was that they invested hundreds of thousands of euros into their teaching, into their degree, but they did not invest anything into finding which kind of degree I should go for. So I give this typical problem of pizza versus career exploration. A good career exploration exercise will be equal to 10 pizzas in your life. One pizza generally costs like $7, 400 rupees. For 4,000 rupees, you can get good career guidance and counseling from a good, reputed, knowledgeable professional. Now you have to decide whether you want to eat 10 pizza more in your life and be confused about your career, or you want to eat 10 pizza less in your life and you want to go on a career where after spending 80,000 rupees 80,000 euros in education and living expense in a foreign country, you find that you are back to square one. Secondly, once you are a working professional, I have another example for you, like party dress versus coaching session. Generally what happens, one party dress you wear maybe 3 to 4 times in your whole life. And one party dress costs you roughly 100 to 200 euros. In fact, in my marriage, I decided not to get that 50,000 rupees, that, that joker type dress which people wear in the marriage. So what I did, I contacted all my friends. I said that if you have anything like that, and fortunately my maternal uncle's brother, my maternal uncle's son, so he was Mamera Bhai, he got married just last year. So he had an amazing dress, 75,000 rupees he invested to get that dress. I borrowed it from him and I wore it for one day. I got it dry cleaned and gave it back. And that dress he has never wore in his life again. It was only one time. Now, why to invest 75,000 rupees in a dress for one day? If you have choice, like, it is, if you have a lot of money and or your father is rich, then yeah, do that, no problem. But then it is equally important to invest in getting proper coaching, getting proper mentoring, getting proper support, guidance. And trust me, like if you have a dress, 35,000 rupees you invested, you will keep that dress. It will be a liability on you because you have to maintain it. You have to keep it proper. It will eat some money. But 35,000 rupees, if you have invested in your coaching, even if it looks like a big expense in the beginning, the knowledge and competence and the perspective that you will get from that, it will be with you for life. It will be an asset for you. Because of that, you can increase your consulting charge. You can command higher salary because you will know how to negotiate, how to talk, how to discuss, how to present your idea, and how to do things. So I think these are some steps to grow into the field. And that's all I wanted to kind of communicate today. Now, I have a question for you. Oh, sorry. Yeah, please go to the mentimeter.com and start answering the question.
Can you give the instruction for the new joiners who joined how to do the Mentimeter, please?
Yeah, go to menti.com on your other device, or you open a separate browser in that. And then it will ask you to enter a code. You enter the code 61821134. Thank you. So this exercise I did deliberately to highlight a point that at least once in a day, do your audit of your emotions. You ask yourself, how am I feeling at this moment? And just try to kind of get into that feeling, get in touch with your feeling. Because today we don't have time to talk about that aspect, but your feelings are your best messengers. They tell you everything, and they tell you about your past and also about your future. Many a times, if you look back, you must have seen that you're talking to the person, everything seems right, but you feel that something is odd, something is odd, something is odd. Listen to that feeling, because most of the time, if you listen properly, you will know what is odd, and it will save you from getting into big disappointment. So thank you very much for that. That's all I had to share today about career in business psychology. Now, questions.
Yes, sir. So I was just about to suggest that we stop the official recording here and then we can do questions. And yeah. So I'll just do that. And then Vipul, you can take over with the question.
Yeah, for sure.
Let it be open session. There are many questions in the chat. So please post them one by one first, and then we'll,
have you stopped the recording, Devika?
Yeah, I just stopped the recording.
Okay. I mean, before we take the Q&A, can everyone please turn on their camera so that we can